Texas is a state that covers 268,000 square miles. Most people who think about it picture the Alamo, the Hill Country, Big Bend, the Gulf Coast. What they almost never picture is 13,000-year-old trade routes, civilizations that built stone cities on the Great Plains and then simply vanished, a limestone cliff that functions as an astronomical observatory, or something buried under a Dallas suburb that geologists and archaeologists have been arguing about for 170 years without reaching an agreement. That last one is number one on this list, and it is the kind of story that changes how you look at ordinary streets. We are also going to visit a cave you can only reach by boat because the road to it was deliberately drowned in 1969, and a ring of 8 earthen mounds, the largest in Texas, that sat completely unnoticed in the Piney Woods for 700 years before 2 archaeologists walked into the forest and found them. Make sure you stick with us to the end, because the story buried under Rockwall County is unlike anything else on this list. If you enjoy deep Texas history, subscribe. We cover the forgotten corners of places most people think they already know. Today we are counting down 13 ancient structures in Texas no one can explain. Number 13. Paint Rock. The Calendar on the Cliff. 16 miles south of Ballinger in Concho County, Texas, a 70-foot limestone cliff rises above the Concho River. The cliff faces south. It has been facing south for a very long time. And at some point in the last 2 millennia, people began painting it. Over 1,500 pictographs now cover approximately 1,000 feet of that south-facing bluff. Humans, animals, geometric shapes, handprints in red and yellow and black and white, made from local iron ochres and chalk. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. No formal archaeological excavation has ever been done. In the 1980s, the Campbell family, who owned the land, noticed something. Cracks in the limestone were sending precise daggers of light onto specific panels at dawn on the equinoxes and solstices. At least 40 pictographs align with solar events. The cliff is a calendar. 2 of the paintings record things that actually happened. The burning of Santa Cruz de San Sab Mission in 1758, and a Comanche raid in 1865 in which a 14-year-old girl named Alice Todd was kidnapped and never found. The paintings are eyewitness accounts on a cliff. No one knows who left most of them there. Number 12. Alibates Flint Quarries. America's first factory. About 35 miles north of Amarillo in the Texas Panhandle, there is a 60-acre mesa where the ground is full of rainbow-colored flint, red, white, blue, brown, banded in patterns that do not occur anywhere else on Earth. People have been coming to this specific mesa for over 13,000 years. Clovis hunters came here before the Great Lakes formed to make spear points for hunting mammoths. Alibates flint has been found at archaeological sites from Montana to the Mississippi River. More than 700 quarry pits are still visible. Between 1150 and 1450 C, the Antelope Creek people built permanent stone slab villages here, mining the stone and trading it for Pueblo pottery, Pacific Coast shells, and Minnesota pipestone. Then they disappeared. Most archaeologists believe they became the Wichita people that Coronado encountered in 1541, people who told him they had once lived in stone houses. Spear points made from Alibates flint were found embedded in extinct mammoths, meaning this one Texas mesa was in continuous productive use for over 13 millennia. You can still visit, but only on a ranger-led tour by reservation. The quarry pits are still there. So are 13,000 years of flint flakes underfoot. Number 11. Lubbock Lake Landmark. The city built on 12,000 years of bones. Next to a traffic interchange on the north edge of Lubbock, Texas, there is a 336-acre archaeological preserve that is free to visit and almost entirely unknown outside academic circles. The Yellow House Draw cuts through the site, a spring-fed oasis on the Llano Estacado that has been attracting animals and humans for at least 20,000 years. Every major prehistoric cultural period in North American archaeology is represented here in a single stratified earth column: mammoth, 2 species of prehistoric horse, camel, giant short-faced bear. Dated using nearly 175 individual radiocarbon dates. It is the only site in the Western Hemisphere with an unbroken record of all 5 major prehistoric cultural periods in one location. In 1950, charred bison bones from the site produced what was then the world's first radiocarbon date associated with Paleo-Indians. The city of Lubbock was literally founded at this spot. The first commercial business in the area, the Singer Store, opened in 1881 at the edge of this same spring. They built a cotton city on top of a 12,000-year record of human life, and for most of its history, nobody knew it was there. Number 10. Panther Cave. The Gallery That Drowned. There is a cave in Valverde County, southwest Texas, with a 100-foot-long wall of pictographs painted floor to ceiling, a leaping panther, shamanic human figures, abstract forms from the Pecos River-style tradition, approximately 4,000 years old. The only way to reach it is by boat. The canyon approach was submerged in 1969 when Amistad Dam was completed, creating Lake Amistad. The dam was built. The water rose. Hundreds of pictograph sites in the surrounding canyons went permanently underwater and were lost. Panther Cave survived only because it sat slightly above the new waterline. A chain-link fence now runs across the cave entrance. The Shumla Archaeological Research Center has laser scanned the panels because the reservoir continues to threaten them. Multiple generations of artists added to the cave's walls over centuries, each layer painted over the last, not defacement, but continuation. A full-scale photographic reproduction of the panel is on display at the Amistad Visitor Center for people who do not have a boat. Here's the thing. The water that saved this cave from highway construction is also the water that is slowly finishing what flooding started. It is still there. For now. Number 9. The Buried City. The Panhandle Pueblo nobody expected. 18 miles southeast of Perryton, in Ochiltree County, there is a site along Wolf Creek that archaeologists have been trying to make sense of since 1907. When a high school teacher named T.L. Irely took some students out to excavate it, one of those students was 15 years old. His name was Floyd Studer. He became a professional archaeologist. That tells you something about what they found. The Buried City is a pre-Columbian settlement of at least 5 distinct clusters of stone slab structures, each containing 7 or 8 dwellings, stretching 3,500 feet along the creek. The houses were semi-subterranean, plastered in adobe, with wooden roof posts 12 to 18 inches in diameter and crawlway entrances that always faced east. One house measured up to 650 square feet, enormous by prehistoric plain standards. Trade goods recovered at the site connect this community to southwestern Kansas, the Pacific coast, and the Alibates quarries 100 miles away. The people who built this were not the Anasazi. They were not the Pueblo tribes. They appear to have developed their own masonry tradition independently on the flat Texas Panhandle, starting around 800 CE. Around 1500, they left. Most archaeologists believe drought or pressure from nomadic tribes drove them out, and that they eventually became the Wichita people. The 5-mile stretch of Wolf Creek once held over 100 stone dwellings, spaced roughly 100 yards apart, a layout described by archaeologists as resembling an American suburb. A suburb built 500 years before the first Europeans set foot in Texas. It is on private land. Most of it has never been excavated. Number 8. Enchanted Rock. The billion-year-old stone that screams. 17 miles north of Fredericksburg in the Texas Hill Country, a pink granite dome rises 425 feet above the surrounding terrain and covers 640 acres. It is the largest pink granite monadnock in the United States. It was formed 1.082 billion years ago, confirmed by uranium to lead decay in zircon crystals, making it the oldest exposed rock surface in Texas. At night, particularly after hot days, the dome groans. It creaks. thick sheets of granite contracting as they cool produce sounds that carry across the hill country dark. The Tonkawa believed ghost fires flickered at the summit. The Apache and Comanche considered it sacred. Over 400 archaeological sites have been found within the park boundaries, 120 of them designated state archaeological landmarks. The oldest confirmed artifact is a Plainview projectile point, approximately 10,000 years old. In 1992, a University of Texas researcher confirmed that Enchanted Rock's granite is geologically linked to exposed formations in Antarctica. The two landmasses were once part of the same tectonic plate, over 1 billion years ago, before they were pulled apart. A Texas hill and Antarctica share the same ancient origin. That is not a metaphor. That is geology. The groaning at night, now fully understood, still sounds exactly like something that should not be explained. If you are finding this video interesting, drop a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which of these sites surprises you most. We genuinely read them. We still have 7 entries to go, and the stories are about to get considerably heavier. Number 7. The Hudnall-Pirtle site. The ring of mounds that history forgot. In the Piney Woods of Rusk County, south of Longview, near the Sabine River, there is a site that almost no one has heard of, and almost no one has been to. 8 earthen mounds, the largest and best preserved Caddo mound complex in Texas, arranged in a ring around a silent, open plaza in the middle of a pine and hickory forest. The site was not rediscovered until the early 1980s, when archaeologist James Bruseth and a colleague essentially bushwhacked into the woods, based on a description in an old conference transcript. What they found had been sitting there, untouched, for roughly 700 years. The Archaeological Conservancy acquired the site in 1986. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1991. Test excavations confirmed early Caddoan ceramics and a copper bead in the surrounding village deposits. The mounds were active from approximately 800 to 1275 C, with radiocarbon dates from a burned house in one mound, running from AD 1014 to 1275. A natural gas well pad destroyed a corner of the site before protections were fully in place. There are no current plans to excavate further. Here is the detail that stops people cold when archaeologists placed test units inside the ring's central plaza, the open space the mound's encircle. They found almost nothing. No artifacts. No debris. Just deliberate, maintained emptiness. This enormous open space was kept clean by a vanished civilization for centuries. Walk into that clearing today, and it is still clean. The silence in there is not absence, it is architecture. Number 6. Hueco tanks. North America's most sacred art gallery. 32 miles northeast of El Paso, 3 syenite mountains rise out of the Chihuahuan desert floor. They were formed 34 to 38 million years ago. The rock is pocked with natural hollows, huecos in Spanish, that trap rainwater. Until about 1910, these hollows were the only reliable water source between the Pecos River and El Paso. People have been coming here for at least 8 to 10,000 years. And they painted. Over 3,000 documented pictographs spread across more than 50 locations throughout the site, the largest concentration of ceremonial mask paintings in all of North America. The art spans desert archaic geometric designs from 6000 BC, Jornada Mogollon ceremonial figures from 500 to 1450 C, including goggle-eyed rain deity masks connected to Tlaloc, a Mesoamerican god, hundreds of miles north of Mesoamerica, and historic period images from Apache, Comanche, Kiowa, and Tigua peoples as recently as 1849. In 1837, Mexican soldiers besieged a Kiowa band inside the rocks for 6 days. Most of the Kiowa did not survive. The site is considered sacred by the Mescalero Apache, Kiowa, Hopi, Tigua, and Pueblo peoples. Daily visitor numbers are strictly limited. Guided tours book weeks in advance. In 2017, digital enhancement software revealed 31 previously unknown pictograph panels. A comprehensive survey is still ongoing. Here is what the pigment analysis tells us. Not a single non-charcoal mineral used in any of these paintings occurs naturally at Hueco tanks. Every pigment was carried in. Every person who ever painted here made a deliberate pilgrimage to do it. 8,000 years of planned arrivals. 8,000 years of intentional marks. The mountain did not choose this. People did, over and over again. Number 5. The White Shaman Mural. North America's oldest library. 2 hours west of San Antonio on US 90, where the Pecos River cuts its canyon toward the Rio Grande, there is a limestone overhang above the water that holds a 26-foot-long painting. It is 4,000 to 4,500 years old. Radiocarbon dated. The White Shaman mural depicts, as far as 3 decades of academic analysis can determine, the entire cosmological worldview of a people who left no other written record. A headless, elongated human form in white pigment, arms outstretched. Shamanic figures transforming, traveling, descending. The birth of the sun. The beginning of time. Dr. Carolyn Boyd spent 30 years decoding this. What she found was not a collection of separate images accumulated over time. It was a single planned composition. She found under drawings, preliminary sketches laid directly onto the stone beneath the final painted images, proving the creators of this mural worked from a design before they applied a single drop of pigment. A 4,000-year-old blueprint for a painting about the structure of the universe. The people who made this were hunter-gatherers who never developed agriculture. Yet they maintained this sophisticated visual tradition with remarkable consistency for over 2,000 years. More than 200 pictograph shelters are known within a 90-mile radius of the Pecos and Rio Grande confluence. Hundreds of them went permanently underwater when Amistad Reservoir was filled in 1969. Scholars describe what survived as the oldest known books in North America. The Witt Museum has owned the White Shaman site since 2017 and offers public tours on Saturdays, September through May, groups of 20. If you go in September when the light shifts and you stand in front of that 26-foot wall, what you are looking at is the most sophisticated surviving document of a civilization that no longer exists. They were not simple. They were not primitive. They had blueprints. Number 4. Caddo Mound State Historic Site. The Southwest's last great pyramid complex. 6 miles west of Alto on TX-21 in Cherokee County, 3 earthen mounds rise from a gap in the East Texas pines. They are the southwesternmost ceremonial mound complex of all the great mound builder cultures in North America, the final terminus of a civilization whose mound building tradition stretched from the Great Lakes to this specific pine forest. The Hasinai Caddo founded the settlement around 850 C and built it for 500 years, basket load by basket load. 2 of the mounds served as platforms for temples and the homes of political leaders. The third was a burial mound for the elite. Trade connections reached the Midwest for copper, the Gulf Coast for marine shells, and the Appalachian Mountains for stone. Around 1250 C, the Caddo ritually dismantled their own power structure. They capped the mounds, covered them deliberately with a final layer of earth, and dispersed into smaller, more egalitarian communities. The first European written record of the mounds came in 1779. The first professional archaeological study was in 1919. On April 13, 2019, during Caddo Culture Day celebrations, an EF3 tornado struck the site directly. 1 person died. 30 to 40 were injured. The visitor center was destroyed. The damage was estimated at $2.5 million. The rebuilt center was constructed with the Caddo Nation's direct involvement. 5 female Caddo apprentices and over 20 tribal members helped reconstruct the traditional grass house using traditional methods. The mounds themselves survived. They survived because they were built to last. The Caddo did not abandon this place in confusion or defeat. They closed it. They performed the ceremony, covered the mounds, and moved on. That is a different kind of ending than most civilizations get. Number 3. The Gault Site. The art that rewrote American history. Outside Florence, Texas, about 60 miles north of Austin, there is a cattle pasture along Buttermilk Creek. There is a canvas-covered Quonset hut in the pasture protecting a hole in the ground. Inside that hole, in terraced layers, is the archaeological record of human presence in this valley, going back at least 16,000 years, and possibly 20,000. For roughly 50 years, from the 1940s through the 1990s, the landowner charged $25 a day for anyone who wanted to come dig. Collectors came. They dug wherever they liked. They kept whatever they found. An enormous amount of irreplaceable archaeological context was destroyed. Then, in 1991, a collector found something unusual. Small limestone cobbles engraved with geometric designs, spirals, herringbones, paired zigzags, sitting in direct association with Clovis artifacts. When professional archaeologists finally gained exclusive access to the site, they excavated approximately 3% of it and recovered over 2.6 million artifacts. In 2018, optically stimulated luminescence dating of material from the deepest strata confirmed human occupation at least 16,000 years ago, before the Clovis culture, which had been considered the earliest people in the Americas for most of the 20th century. The Gault assemblage tools were unlike anything from Clovis. Unrelated technology. A separate people, arriving earlier through a different route, leaving a completely different toolkit. In 2006, archaeologist Michael Collins purchased the site with his own money and donated it to the Archaeological Conservancy to stop the looting. Among the engraved stones is a palm-sized piece of limestone found stratigraphically sandwiched between two Clovis artifacts, meaning it was made before the Clovis people existed. It has geometric designs on it. It is the oldest confirmed art object in North America. It is in a lab in Texas. Monthly tours are available. Most people have never heard of this place. Number 2. Antelope Creek Ruins at Alibates. Stone houses on the plains. Adjacent to the Alibates Flint quarries along the Canadian River in the Texas Panhandle, the ruins of the Antelope Creek villages sit on terraces above the river breaks. Between 1150 and 1450s, the Antelope Creek people built large, semi-subterranean stone slab houses here, some containing multiple rooms, some capable of housing extended families, some arranged in blocks resembling small southwestern pueblos. They hunted bison, farmed corn and beans and squash on the canyon terraces, quarried the Alibates flint, and traded it across the continent. The architecture is unlike anything else on the Great Plains, stone masonry in a region not known for it, drawing on influences from southwestern Pueblo culture while remaining distinctly its own tradition. Around 1450, say, the villages were abandoned. Drought, likely pressure from new arrivals on the plains, possibly the ruins themselves, stone slab foundations, fire pit outlines, storage pits. The remnants of walls are still present within the monument area, accessible on ranger-led tours by reservation. You walk up the same 170-foot mesa the ancient miners climbed, and when you reach the top, the quarry pits surround you, and the ruins are just beyond them. Two things that happened in the same place, for the same reason, across 13 centuries. The Flint pulled people here. The Flint kept them here. And when the people left, the Flint stayed. Number 1. Rockwall, the mystery buried under a Dallas suburb. Drive east out of Dallas on I-30. The suburbs expand in every direction. Shopping centers, subdivisions, chain restaurants, the ordinary infrastructure of a growing American city. The town of Rockwall sits about 20 miles from downtown Dallas. It has a courthouse and a historical museum and a waterfront on Lake Ray Hubbard. It looks exactly like every other expanding North Texas community. Except the town is named after something nobody fully understands. In 1852, 3 men named Boydstone, Wade, and Stevenson were digging a water well. They hit something. Not rock, exactly. A barrier of apparently shaped. Stacked stones running in straight lines underground. A Freemason who examined the exposed sections reportedly declared it skilled stonemasonry. The community that formed around the mystery named itself Rockwall. The county did the same. What they had found has since been documented in at least 11 separate locations beneath a roughly rectangular 20 square mile area. Here is the record of expert opinions across 170 years. In 1874, a geologist called it igneous. In 1901, another called it sandstone dikes. In 1909, Sidney Page published a paper in Science magazine calling it disconnected dikes, not a wall. In 1925, archaeologist Count Byron de Proroch examined the exposed sections and called it the construction of a prehistoric race. In 1996, an architect named John Lindsay studied the wall and concluded that evidence of a prehistoric structure built by human hands was mounting. A geologist named James Shelton documented linteled portals, archways, openings resembling windows, and a stone-lined passage leading to what he described as a vaulted chamber. Geologist John Geisman of the University of Texas at Dallas stated that it is virtually impossible for these formations to have formed above the Earth's surface, meaning they formed underground, naturally, without human involvement. A paleomagnetic study concluded natural formation. That conclusion was subsequently disputed. A section was excavated as a tourist attraction during the 1936 Texas Centennial. It drew 70 visitors a day. A small reassembled section remains on display behind the Rockwall County Historical Foundation building. It is the only publicly visible piece of a formation that extends 20 miles beneath an ordinary suburb. The mainstream scientific consensus is natural sandstone dike. But no natural sandstone dike anywhere else in the world has been documented with arched portals, vaulted chambers, and window-like openings by multiple independent observers across 17 decades. The formation sits almost entirely under private land. Most of it has never been excavated. The debate cannot be settled because the evidence is, literally, under people's houses. Every geologist who has officially studied this has called it natural, and every time someone digs into it, they find something that prompts the next round of experts to show up and disagree. The town is named for it. The county is named for it. The mystery has been there since before either of them existed. And nobody, not in 1852, not in 1936, not in 2013 when a television crew flew in to film an episode about it, has ever been able to fully walk away satisfied. Texas is older than most people think, and stranger than most people know. These 13 sites are proof that the state's real history goes back not centuries, but millennia, and most of it is still being pieced together. My personal favorite on this list is the Hudnall-Pirtle site, 8 mounds in the forest, a clean plaza, and the knowledge that nobody noticed them for 700 years. That silence is its own kind of answer. Let us know in the comments which of these surprised you the most, or which ancient Texas structure you think we left off the list. And if you want more of this, subscribe.